and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight, as we just witnessed another episode of Friday Night Suckdown, which was actually Friday Night Snooze Down. Here's a nice little fact you guys might want to know. The reason why you're getting this review tonight on Saturday instead of on Friday is because before the first hour of SmackDown ended, your boy Nick Nightmare right here found himself in a very deep sleep. I was almost put into a coma by the sheer boredom that I was put through during hour number 1. When you want to give me Baron Corbin and Braun Strowman throughout the whole first entire hour of the show, I didn't stand a chance. And the rest of the show didn't feature all that much to talk about, but we are going to talk about all of it and so much more, as we are just a little bit over a week away from Money in the Bank, the corporate Money in the Ladder on the top of the whole tower match. Blah! And my God, I don't know what the hell we're in store for, but let's talk about it all. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Friday Night Suckdown review and reaction show. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
So there is a lot going on SmackDown, but none of it is really all that interesting. In fact, there is one thing that has been consistent on SmackDown. Of all of the stories going in the WWE right now, the one thing that many fans are holding close to them, and the one thing we're all kind of enjoying to a point, is the story that is developing between Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, and Otis, and subsequently Dolph Ziggler, which just happens to be, I guess, a circumstance of, roster cuts and who's available. But I would never have told you that in 2020 I'd actually be interested in something Dolph Ziggler is doing, but he is involved in one of the premier storylines, and everything that they have done from before WrestleMania and subsequently after has been okay. It's all been very good. Sonya Deville has come out and shown on the mic. She's been a tremendous surprise. I didn't think she would come off as well as she has, and there's some real tension there, and it's some good drama, and they kind of failed tonight. Now, I'm not saying what they did in this area was wrong. What they did was just fine. But tonight, with that matchup for Mandy Rose versus Carmella to see who goes on to Money in the Bank this year, this was a pivotal moment for me. The bookers inside me wanted to see this match and how they were going to play it out, because if they were truly serious about getting over Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville simultaneously while bringing either further interest into this feud and making it more meaningful, then they took all of the wrong steps tonight. Tonight they took the easy way out. They just had Sonya Deville go out there during Mandy Rose's match, become a distraction, not really get involved too much. Mandy Rose, to her credit, tried to stay laser focused on the situation and took it to Carmella. But it was not to be, as the distractions by Sonya Deville would prove to be too much on the outside. Carmella gets a win. Carmella's going to Money in the Bank. Nobody wants to see that. Carmella's had her moments. Carmella's been already champion. It's time for Carmella to give back a little bit. And this is where WWE failed with this storyline. Follow along with me if you're intrigued to see how this really should have played out. You don't have to change a thing about the lead up into tonight's SmackDown regarding this story, but you do have to change a few key things. Number one, all that needed to happen tonight with Mandy Rose facing Carmella was a few simple things. First, Sonya Deville cuts a promo prior to the match backstage. Very similar to everything that she has said last week and similar to what she delivered on the mic this week. She could point out how she gave Mandy Rose her Money in the Bank spot last year. She failed then. She's going to fail again. She could put the whole promo out there and then just be simmering, angry, and Sonya Deville's in the back and she's pissed off, and we all know. Great. Then you go later on into the night. Mandy Rose is making her way towards the ring for her matchup. And then Sonya Deville attacks her, beats her to hell all the way from one end of the alleyway to the other, beats her to the parking lot, really does some damage to Mandy Rose, leaving the matchup itself in doubt. And also, if she does compete, there's going to be almost no way she could win. Sonya Deville could work over a specific body part, give Mandy Rose a clear disadvantage going into her matchup tonight with Carmella. Now, many of you are going to say, well, this was going to be an excuse for Carmella to win. No! No, what this is going to prove to be is Mandy Rose's shining moment. Despite the injury that she occurred earlier in the evening, despite the fact that the doctors didn't want her to compete or whatever, and against all odds, she goes out there and she beats Carmella. Like we said, Carmella's had her time. She doesn't need to be in the Money in the Bank this year. You want to build Mandy Rose to be a big star? You want to build Sonya Deville to be a big star? Mandy Rose should have won tonight, earning herself a spot into the Money in the Bank against all odds. Really get the fans on her side. And that's after this, you show Sonya Deville pissed off in the back. Watching the monitor all awkwardly in the backstage segments we're all very used to. Sonya Deville's pissed off. She's enraged, just seething with anger backstage. That's it for the story tonight. That's it. Sonya's plan didn't work. She didn't foil Mandy. And now next week, Mandy and Otis cut a promo, a dual promo, because they're both going into Money in the Bank, claiming they're going to be the first couple to ever win both Money in the Bank ladder matches on the same night. Sonya is nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be heard on Friday. This could even be extended through her social media account. She could just go radio silent, completely drop off the grid. And then at Money in the Bank, somewhere along this ridiculous multi-Money in the Bank corporate ladder match at the top of the tower match, you have Mandy Rose have a moment where she climbs that ladder. She made it to the roof. She's climbing the ladder. She's going to get that briefcase. And then from out of the shadows on the rooftops comes Sonya Deville, dressed like a ninja with her face painted black or some shit to blend in with the shadows, costing Mandy Rose the opportunity to win the match. Not the opportunity to get into the match, but she had her fingers on the briefcase. Her moment is there, and then Sonya Deville stabs her in the back. That's how you book it. Going on from there, there's so many different directions they could go, but eventually, being that we are headed towards the summer, you build over the next course of the course of the next couple of weeks, and you blow this off with Mandy versus Sonya one-on-one at SummerSlam. No Dolph Ziggler and Otis in their corner, nothing, no gimmicks, no nonsense, just woman versus woman to see who is the best. That is how it should have been done. What they did was not bad. But when I lay it out to you the way I did, what's more important? What would be more painful? Losing the opportunity to even get in the match, or having your fingers on the briefcase and then this bitch comes out of nowhere and steals it from you? She's not even in the match. She's just doing what she claims she's going to do, and she's going to make Sonya's life a living hell. That immediately establishes Sonya Deville with some major heel heat, and at the same time it gets Mandy Rose over big time with the fans because she's continually getting screwed over. She almost had her moment, and it can go on from there. I've enjoyed the breakup of Fire and Desire thus far, but as I said, tonight was a pivotal moment to see if they were truly trying to get their ducks in a row and do things right and get these girls over properly, or if they were just going through the motions. And unfortunately, it seems to be the latter. Now, like I said, not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. Not poop hammer worthy in the least. But it could have been better. And I hope to see things get better as we always do. We don't just like dropping poop hammers all over these shows. We want to enjoy ourselves. And I do genuinely enjoy what's going on with this particular storyline. Outside of that, the poop hammers can rain down from the heavens above because there is no escaping just how bad the rest of this show is. As I said, we started off this show with one of my favorite guys in the whole entire wrestling world, Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan, a former Money in the Bank winner. He's mad because he wanted to have Drew Gulak in that match with him. He wanted Drew to be able to compete with him in the Money in the Bank ladder match, but that has been spoiled by King Dickhead himself, Baron Corbin. And enter, of course, Baron Corbin into the situation. One of 4 men to have been a complete failure with Money in the Bank. So you have one of the guys that cashed it in a memorable fashion against the Big Show, and then a guy that's failed with it and has been nothing but a failure since that moment. And I'm supposed to give a shit? All you're doing to me is bringing Daniel Bryan further down the mid-card, further away from the main events and the upper mid-cards and the Intercontinental Championships and things of that nature where we should be seeing Daniel Bryan. And then they have this match, Daniel Bryan versus King Corbin. It was nothing special. It was kind of slow at the start. Didn't really do anything for me. And the finish made it even worse because this dickhead, King Baldo, Geraldo Faldo over there, throws a ladder at Daniel Bryan, gets himself disqualified. These are some of the reasons why we still to this day give the poop hammer to Baron Corbin. It's definitely not the last poop hammer we're going to be dealing out tonight on this freaking show tonight, that's for sure. But you want me to have any interest here, the first thing you have to do is remove King Corbin. That's it. I would have rather see Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro, Daniel Bryan versus Shinsuke Nakamura, Daniel Bryan versus Drew Gulak, Daniel Bryan versus Dolph Ziggler if you want to go former Money in the Bank winners. I'll do that over this. So unimportant, so uninteresting. After the match, King Corbin's acting like a big old king clown. Daniel Bryan fought back afterwards, locked up the king in the LaBelle lock, only for Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro to come out and bail out King Corbin. Is King Corbin part of Sami Zayn's little Intercontinental Championship stable with his running buddies? I mean, I know that they're probably friendly with each other, being they're all heels. I don't really care all that much, but it just seemed kind of random. I don't know. I didn't care for it too much. We then get a promo by Braun Strowman, the big brown snowman that nobody wants around no more man. I want to like this whole thing. I really do. I think the history between Bray and Braun is an interesting story to play off of here. But for me, it will infinitely be ruined by the fact that Braun Strowman is the champion right now. And I know things happen because of extenuating circumstances, but you have to realize that if it wasn't Braun Strowman right now, it would most likely be Roman Reigns. So, in either scenario, we're going to be saying the same thing. Nobody really cares about Strowman at the top. Not many people, despite accepting him more into their lives as far as wrestling characters, nobody really wants to see Roman Reigns immediately shot back to the top and put back into the main events and all of this stuff and being given the world championship, especially in the midst of a Bray Wyatt run that never really got started in the right direction because of all the nonsense that happened with Seth Rollins. So no matter what you did here, the fact that The Fiend lost to Goldberg just ruined anything that you could be coming up with following. I don't care what the political reasons were or the financial reasons were, signing Bill Goldberg to an extension or whatever the reasons were, they had to pull the trigger and give the belt to Strowman because Roman Reigns decided to pull out thanks to the worldwide epidemic that's going on. So I feel like if Bray never lost to Goldberg, and then Bray went on to be victorious at WrestleMania over John Cena for the Universal Championship. It would have given this feud a lot more meaning. If you look at the character of The Fiend, you have to see that it's super special, right? So how could you differentiate his title run from all of the other heel champions there has been? Well, he's going after everybody who has wronged him in his past, which is what he has been doing up to this point. So it would make sense for him, even as champion. He's got the belt, he's content, he's champion now, but he's going to continue to systematically destroy anybody that has hindered him on the way to where he finds himself now. It's a more compelling story. An evil, calculating, manipulative champion who has the belt. He's got everything in the world he could possibly want. But what he wants even more than that is to destroy everyone who's done him wrong. The speed bump known as Goldberg ruined all of this. And have we not found ourselves in the situation we find ourselves in with the health crisis that's happening? None of this at all would be happening. And I don't think that WWE would have had the foresight to have booked Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman, at least, for a while. They had other plans in motion. And this was not that. This is the emergency backup plan. And nobody really cares too much for it. Braun Strowman was talking garbage, and then the Firefly Funhouse pops up. Bray Wyatt wants to tell us a little story about the Black Sheep. And now this was interesting. This is what I mean. It would have been way more accepted and way better had they not messed with the championships here. The wrong guy is the champion in this scenario. Anybody that thinks Braun Strowman's going to walk out with that belt once he gets in the ring with Bray Wyatt, I think you're mildly delusional. It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, then man, Bray Wyatt should just pack his bags right now and head literally anywhere else. He can go to MLW. He can go to NWA. He doesn't have to go to AEW. He can literally go anywhere else and he'll be a big star. If he loses to Braun Strowman, my God, that'll be a good night for us here on this show. I might actually have a brain aneurysm. There's a reason for you guys to tune in. So he talked about this whole story. Bray Wyatt says he doesn't like the sad ending, but he's going to change it. He continued his little story. He said that the shepherd takes the black sheep to the slaughterhouse. Braun Strowman then decided to interrupt. He wants Bray Wyatt to come out. Bray Wyatt's not going to come out. And he just was like, bye, bye, bye. And then that was the end of that. And as far as anything interesting, I guess, if you care. But I really don't. Because of how they botched everything leading up into it. It has absolutely no depth. It has no meaning. It's the emergency backup plan. And we just have to wait for it to be over. Much like everything else. Sheamus defeats Leon Ruff. Leon Ruff. I feel like this was a cheap backhanded shot at Leo Rush for some reason. The guy was very similar in stature. Was also an African American, just like Leo. And the similarity in the name just popped out to me. I don't know. I may be reaching there, but that's what I think. And that's what you guys tune in to hear, so I'm telling you. This was another squash win for Sheamus, which is an absolute waste. I'm not going to keep repeating myself and giving you guys the obvious reasons, obvious answers to Sheamus and what they should have done with him upon his return. We're not going to go through all that again. You can go see that every other time we talk about Sheamus since his return. But I would rather see him in these squash matches than seeing him standing in the dark doing the Aleister Black promos, talking to nobody, and picking on people for being small. Sheamus has found himself seemingly on a collision with Jeff Hardy. He's taken to heart the fact that Jeff Hardy's getting all this fanfare and all this promotion, and all of this should be, I guess, focused on him. I guess that's the direction they're going with it, because Sheamus seems to be obsessed with Jeff Hardy. We then got Jeff Hardy's video package Chapter 4, The Comeback, which covered Hardy's knee injury in 2019, his upcoming return, which was announced by Michael Cole. He says Jeff Hardy will return next week. Now, this is interesting to me for two reasons. One, because we don't know whether or not they are going to bury Jeff Hardy because of Matt's departure? Or two, are they going to give Jeff Hardy the moon to keep him from jumping ship when his contract ends? There's the two scenarios that can play out. And if we start seeing Sheamus absolutely obliterate Jeff Hardy over the course of the next, or over the course of the summer leading to a big SummerSlam match, I would expect that Jeff Hardy's not going to be sticking around. But if they start putting him in these matches with these guys, start putting Jeff Hardy over Sheamus, which they definitely shouldn't do, trying to build up Sheamus as this big badass new version of this heel Sheamus that we all remember from back in the day, you shouldn't be having him lose. You have to stay consistent. You have to give people reason to fear this man, other than the fact that he can go out and beat up a guy half his size in about a minute and a half. That's not how you do things. It's not how you build characters. It's how you make me bored. And WWE are masters at that. So Sheamus gets in Michael Cole's face and promises that he will be here next week as well when Jeff Hardy decides to make his return. So expect that confrontation next Friday, and we'll see where they go from there. We had an interview in the back by Kayla Braxton. She was talking to Mandy and Otis was saying that he beat Dolph Ziggler at WrestleMania, and he promised that he was going to beat him again tonight to make his way into the Money in the Bank. And he was going to win that Money in the Bank for himself and his peach, Mandy Rose. He's calling her Peach. I guess it's a pretty apt nickname. I'm sure everything looks real peachy down below, you know what I'm saying? Kayla then asked about Sonya Deville, but Mandy Rose is more concerned with Carmella tonight because she has a chance to make it into the Money in the Bank. She kissed Otis on the cheek and then went on to lose to Carmella thanks to the distraction by Sonya Deville, who, as we said, has been great in this turn. She's been great on the mic. I think both of these girls will end up looking better at the end of this thing, even though they went a easy way, I think we call it, right? They took the easy way out. They took the lazy way with this, but nonetheless, it did what it was supposed to do. The finish of this match came when Sonya Deville distracted Mandy and Carmella caught her square in the Rose face with a super kick for the win. Carmella moves on to a Money in the Bank match she doesn't need to be in. She's won this match twice already, once with the help of James Ellsworth and the second time by herself, and I'm pretty sure she won it the following year, right? I don't remember. Is she a two-time Money in the Bank winner? I don't care. My brain doesn't care to remember facts like that. But she doesn't need this. As we said earlier, this would have been her time to give something to Mandy Rose. And Mandy Rose getting a win over a woman on the roster that has been a multiple-time champion and a former Money in the Bank winner would have definitely solidified in the eyes of the fans that, hey, Mandy Rose is getting better and she's somebody we should be watching out for here. But that's not the case. Mandy Rose loses. You can't build somebody up by constantly have them lose. And I know that they're playing the, it's Sonya's fault thing. But as we mentioned, I will reiterate it one last time. It would have meant more to cost her the briefcase than cost her the chance to be in the match, which would have given this feud so much more. Talking about doing things wrong and not knowing how to build up characters. The Forgotten Sons defeated the champions of the tag team division of the Blue Brand, the New Day, in a non-title match. And this is the WWE again, much like the scenario we mentioned earlier with Mandy and Sonya. This is not the way to build this team. The WWE just goes to default. They have a new tag team. They don't have a tag team division. They don't know what to do with these tag teams. So in order to make the fans believe that these guys mean anything or are a threat, they just make them go out and beat the champions. To be a champion in the WWE means you are going to be featured as a loser for the next couple of months unless the championship is on the line at the major pay-per-view. Until then, you're going to lose. You're going to be looking up at the lights. You're going to be counting fans in the upper decks. Because that's what champions do. Champions lose. When there's nothing on the line, champions lose because they don't take shit seriously until, oh, whoa, this team's a little serious now. We got to take it serious now. Ridiculous. We have seen this over and over again. We've seen it with the Viking Raiders. We've seen it with teams like the Authors of Pain. They come right in, they start beating champions, and then they go right back to catering. Or right back to the injured list. Start getting peed on by Drake Maverick. Every time they bring in a new team. I believe they did it with Alistair and Ricochet as well. They came in, they started beating tag team champions. That's not the only way to build your tag teams. What happened to the days where there were, 4 or 5 tag teams that you knew were the teams to watch, and they would go out there and they would have, the champs would be sitting back, chilling, enjoying being champions, going out there, wrestling a match and winning. And then they'd sit back and watch these 2 other teams. And these teams are going at it. And these teams are fierce. And these 2 teams get each other over in great tag team matches. Back in the day, when it was great. When we had teams like the Rockers and the Bulldogs duking it out to see who's going to take on the Hart Foundation. Or the Hart Foundation and the Bulldogs, seeing who's going to take on Demolition. Or more recently, you got Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys. Who's going to go up against the Dudleys? You put the 3 of those teams in one match. And magic happened. Because you had your champions and you had a division of teams who were scraping and clawing and trying to fight their way to the top. But nowadays, you come in, you beat the champ on your first try against the champs, and now you're made. Doesn't work like that, and that's why wrestling feels stale and repetitive and boring. Look at what they did on Raw with Seth and Drew McIntyre. There's no reason for Seth Rollins to be involved, but Seth Rollins comes out, he kicks Drew McIntyre's ass, he stomps his face into the ground, and now he's the new challenger. Lazy, uncreative, non-traditional booking. You want to call me a purist or a traditionalist? Go ahead. Because there was a reason why wrestling was making so much money back in the day. If they were pulling in the numbers now that they were pulling in back then, their earnings and revenue would be probably triple what it shows now on the market. Accounting for inflation and things of that nature. Wrestling was never better than when it was presented in that way. Why they've strayed from that path? Some things we'll never know. Like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? We're not going to know that either. And we'll never know why WWE does the things they do. Like having The Miz and John Morrison on commentary during this matchup to make it even worse. Ridiculous. The Forgotten Sons. The Forgotten Sons of Anarchy. I've already forgotten about them. Yes. And then I don't understand it. I really don't. And The Miz and John Morrison are on commentary, and they're running down the Forgotten Sons, and I'm like, but they're the bad guys in this scenario, and I know we're, again, going the traditionalist route when I talk about these things, but you got a heel tag team on commentary. They should be happy to be seeing the New Day getting their ass beat by another heel team. They shouldn't be running down both teams. Oh, we're the best. The Forgotten Sons, they ain't nobody. I don't know. I didn't enjoy their antics on commentary at all. Michael Cole and Corey Graves have a big announcement. The men's and women's Money in the Bank ladder matches are going to be happening simultaneously. They're going to be happening at the same time. And I know that the WWE is going to film this in the cinematic way that they have done the Bray Wyatt match and the AJ Styles Undertaker match. But you have to believe that this is not really going to work out. They got both briefcases hanging up there. I am so intrigued at how this is going to play out. And if that was their move, if that's the move they used to get people's interest peaked, to make sure that we all tune in, then bravo, because you did it. Because I can't understand the logic behind doing this. You're just going to keep giving us cutscenes going through 2 women fighting, and then we're going to go see like 3 of the guys fighting in the lobby, and then we're going to keep moving up from elevator to elevator. We're going to be going from room to room. We're going to be destroying Titan Towers on our way up to the roof, and there's going to be women and men, and we're going to be throwing bodies everywhere, and it sounds like it might be entertaining, but I don't understand where they're going with it. Is it a good idea? I don't feel like it is. I really don't. But we'll have to wait for Money in the Bank to find out. And I have no choice but to watch and see. And I'm terrified of the prospect, believe me. Could be good. Could be trash. Probably going to be trash. Speaking of trash, Tamina had an interview with Kayla Braxton in the back. She says she's not going to be intimidated by Sasha Banks and Bayley. The boss showed up in the back and is like, yo, sis, why you being so... I don't know. Think of a fucking word. I don't know. I'm not as cool as Sasha Banks. She's just all like trying to lean on Sasha's, on Tamina's former history with Sasha. And, you know, we used to be girls back in the day, Team Bad and whatnot. And then Bayley comes out of nowhere, tries to sneak attack Tamina, but I guess she's got eyes in the back of her head, or maybe she had her Hawaiian roots and her superpowers genetically pineappled up in her, and she felt the breeze of the wind from the Mahawahalua. I don't know. For some reason, she knew that Bayley was coming from behind. She turned around, grabbed Bayley by the neck, and they were unsuccessful in gaining the upper hand on Tamina until the very end of the segment where they finally beat her down. But then, bam, bam, I'm fighting backstage, and I don't belong here. We do not care that I'm over here. Bam, bam. Yeah, Lacey Evans had to show up because Lacey Evans and Tamina, that makes sense. That makes sense, right? Oh, good God. Dolph Ziggler spoke to Sonya Deville in the back. Dolph Ziggler said that people think this is a movie and that he's the bad guy. Well, he thinks like we're watching Westworld. No, we know that we're watching garbage TV. We know that we're watching the WWE. We don't think this is some good show produced by HBO with interesting twists and turns and things of that nature to keep you compelled and intrigued the whole time. No, this ain't Westworld. This ain't no movie. He's the bad guy. He's the black hat here. Right, but he said he's not in the real world. And that he's actually a winner. And when? When were you a winner, bro? Last time I remember you winning was that Money in the Bank ladder match. After that, I don't remember much. Ziggler then promised that he was going to be able to console Mandy Rose by winning the Money in the Bank briefcase and becoming champion again after Sonya is done with her. And I'm just like, no, it's not going to happen. Dolph Ziggler is never going to be a world champion again. Never. The man's delusional. He's got a better shot at winning Mandy back from Otis than he does at ever getting his hands on the Universal or World Heavyweight Championship. Not going to happen, Dolphy. Sorry, bro. And thanks to my man Otis coming out and worming all over the place, he proved that to be true. Otis defeats Dolph Ziggler in a pretty decent match. I mean, Otis was really fired up for the most part. He had the advantage throughout. Dolph Ziggler set up for a super kick, but Otis caught him and threw him down across the ring and then hit that caterpillar or worm, you want to call, for the win. Otis qualifies for the Money in the Bank ladder match. Hopefully he wins. He's not going to win. But wouldn't that be a good story if he did? But he's not. So let's not get our hopes up. This so far has been shaping up to be one of the least interesting Money in the Banks as far as the competitors that are involved. But they have definitely made up for that with the corporate Money in the Tower on the top of the tip of the Titan match. Next week, we got a preview for next week. 6-man tag. There you go. More reasons for you not to tune in. King Constable Dickhead Corbin is going to team up with Sammy's boys, Cesaro and Shinsuke, versus Daniel Bryan, Drew Gulak, and a mystery partner. Who do you possibly think that could be? Elias, anybody? Give me a break. And the Universal Champion, Braun Snowman, will face Bray Wyatt in the ring one-on-one. We're going to have a face-to-face between former Wyatt family members. Also advertised, Lacey Evans and Tamina will be taking on Sasha and Bayley in a tag team match, so I'll get my barf bag out. And then we will have Jeff Hardy making his return to SmackDown, which will have the impending arrival of Sheamus looming over it the whole entire time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your SmackDown review for the first time this month of May. I apologize for being 24 hours late, but hey, life happens. But at least I'm here, and I'm glad you guys are here as well. If you missed our Raw review this week, that went up late too due to, all of you who already know, we had a family tragedy, and I do want to thank all of you who have reached out and have extended your condolences to me and my family after our loss of our pet last week. It has been a very tough week. Every day is just, it's easing, but it's rough, and then it's not rough. And any of you guys that have been in my position, you know what it's like, and you know what it's all about. And it's not easy. It's definitely not an easy thing to go through. But we're going through it, and we're going to go through it together. And I'm back here at the desk, and I'm firing off on all cylinders, dropping poop hammers all over the place, because they are very much deserved by SmackDown and the WWE. And I want to, again, thank you guys so much, man. Some of your words were really great, and were very helpful and very comforting. And it's nice to know that so many of you truly, truly care about me. And I would do the very same for each and every one of you. You guys mean the world to me, and I would love to keep this train rolling and make the best thing about 2020 be how many subscribers we gain. So why don't you help us on that goal, because 2020 freaking sucks. But we can make it good by growing the Sledgehead army by adding more Sledgeheads to it, and that could be you. So if you have not already, hit that subscribe button right now for more wrestling content produced right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV. If you enjoyed today's show, if it made you laugh, if it made you cry, if it made you understand why this show is a big blue giant swinging turd in the wind, hit that thumbs up for me right now. Let me know that you had a good time here, and then share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if maybe they enjoyed this SmackDown a little bit too much, or maybe they need to understand how the WWE could be doing things better, and they could listen to my plans for Mandy and Sonya and know that I'm a guy that knows what he's talking about. Thank you all so very much once again. If you missed anything, they will be linked in the annotations up above and available at the homepage of Sledgehammer TV right here on YouTube. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue. The Snowball, the most important member of the team as always, is each and every one of you. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom.